This is Melanie Meza, and we're going to be talking about pedagogical approach and scaffolding strategies. How is pedagogical approach determined? There are three types of pedagogical approach. The first is instructivist, which is teacher-centered. The students are told how and why they will learn. The second is constructivist. This one is where the teacher is the facilitator and students create their own knowledge. The last is connectivist. Connectivist has an emphasis on relationships and networks for sources of knowledge. Use an instructivist approach when there are specific goals or outcomes, or if the content is technical, if the content or standards requires mastery, and if the student has little existing content knowledge base from which to draw on. Use a constructivist approach when you have broad or generalized goals, when the outcomes are more personalized or tailored to the learner, and when the learner comes with an established knowledge base that they can pull from. Finally, when is it best to use a connectivist approach? We might want to use this approach when the goals are specific to the learner. So if you have learners in your class that each have unique needs, then this might be an approach that you are going to use. Also, when the focus is on the ability to use resources that are available. These might be social networks, these might be utilizing the internet. Smith and Reagan state, for learning to occur, learners must actively process information. The difference in the two poles is how much scaffolding, support, or prompting is provided to the learner to encourage and bolster this processing. With that being said, which scaffolding strategies are best to use? There are two types of scaffolding strategies, supplantive and generative. Supplantive is direct instruction, it is sequential and has explicit directions. Generative is best with a constructivist and connectivist approach. Students determine the order or sequence of instruction, and the teacher is the facilitator, not just the dispenser of knowledge. It's best to use supplantive when the learners have little prior knowledge of the content, if the learners have not been very successful, if time is an issue, and if task mastery is the priority. Use of generative scaffolding strategies is good when there is existing prior knowledge within the learner, if the learner is able to show flexibility and is not too rigid, for simple tasks, and when a time constraint is not an issue. The following are resources that I used. I hope that this presentation provided some information on pedagogical approaches and scaffolding strategies.